We are about to begin our session titled Tax, Budget and the Common Man. Please switch off your mobile phones or put them on silent mode. There will be a question and answer session at the end of the discussion. We would appreciate it if complete silence is observed while the session is in progress. I would like to invite the moderator and the panelists to please take their seats on stage, Mr. Shabbar Zaidi and Mr. Ikram Sehgal. The other panelist will join us shortly, and we're going to begin our session. Our moderator for the session is Ikram Sehgal. He's Chairman Pathfinder Group Pakistan, which includes 2 of the largest private security companies in the country. He's also involved in various national and international organizations. He is member World Economic Forum, International Organization for Migration, Director East-West Institute, a US-based think tank, and member WEF Global Agenda Council for Counter-Terrorism. He is a regular op-ed contributor to newspapers and frequently appears on current affairs programs. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim. I wish we had all the original panelists here, but unfortunately the Governor, State Bank, landed up only today in the morning, and he couldn't make it to Islamabad, and in any case he's got an early morning session tomorrow in Karachi. And the Finance Minister just landed with the Prime Minister, and I think there's going to be a slow movement to all the people who are welcoming him, so I don't think he'll be here in time. There was somebody supposed to replace him from the Finance Ministry, but I thought discretion is the better part of valor, and decided that he'll stay outside rather than that. But in any case, I'm quite content because I know that Mr. Shabbar Zaidi will be able to take most of the time that we can give him, and I'm sure that the things that really matter today to the common man, we will be able to this thing. So without further ado, I'd like you to make a short sort of introduction to what is happening now, what we have done to mitigate the miseries of the common man, and when do you expect that we'll come out of this crisis?
Thank you very much, Ikram Sahab, and thank you very much, the Oxford University Press Literature Festival. Let me first admit it that what we as a nation, as an economic team, and as an economic plan, what we should have done over the time. Not I am talking about this particular government. What we should have done for the common man in relieving from the 2 hassle of tax. One is the hassle of tax is actually paying the financial burden of tax, as well as the mechanism how the tax is collected. I would be very candid to say that we have not been in the last. No, I'm not talking about this particular year or since I have joined it. We have not been able to relieve the common Pakistani from these 2 hassles, and we have to accept it, and we have to endeavor as a policy maker here and the people who are administrating taxation, that we have to work for the on both sides. First, that we have to relieve the people from, I would say, slightly higher taxation on the common man. Our tax rate is, I am talking about the tax incidence. I will not say tax. The tax incidence is high. We have levied taxes on almost all kind of economic activities, and there are so many withholding taxes and kind of taxes. This is first hassle, and we also have to accept that the mechanism of collecting taxes is not as ideal as it should have been. If you look at what we have done in the last time since this government has taken over, we are trying to basically on 2 basic thing we are trying to do. One is that we don't have too much space on the fiscal side, so at this point of time we are not we have to accept it. We have not reduced any particular kind of tax, and the tax range of taxes is almost the same, but at the same time we have not increased the tax rate because we were in a very serious financial crisis. We could have increased the general state tax rate from 17 to 18 to collect more taxes. We have not done it. but we are trying our best to use the technology and to minimize the interface between the taxation officer and the taxation, so we can people can have a better way of dealing with the taxation people, and we have to accept that the taxation system, which is essential for any modern nation state, has to work in a proper manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Shabbar. I just two things come to mind, and I just want to go back a little bit. Bill Clinton, when he was running for election against George Bush Sr., he had a famous line, and the line was, "It's the economy, stupid." And that became very famous, and that actually won him the election, because Bush was talking about strategy, talking about other things, but actually what the American people were looking for was the economy, and that was what happened. The other thing also which comes to mind is that even as a taxpayer, whatever, please bear with me when I say that I do not understand myself the amount of tax forms and that you have to fill up, and it requires somebody, a specialist, to do it. So the other thing which comes to mind is, why not keep it simple, stupid, right? KISS formula. So if you keep both in mind, I'd like you to think about, why aren't we working towards a simplified solution, very simplified, which allows anybody to absolutely not become a prey and to various manipulations and combinations, but really pay, the government collects the taxes that is due to the government.
I will answer the second question first. We have to make it simple, and let me be very frank. I spent 40 years of my life in the profession of taxation, and I am not ashamed of admitting that if you ask me to explain or to understand that the income tax ordinance in a proper manner, I would say I have not understood it. I cannot apply it properly, and it's a very difficult thing to do. And let me admit it that this is a tragedy of the nation of Pakistan, and we have to accept it. That I always say in Karachi, I used to say that we think in Gujarati, they translate in Urdu and write in English. So when you think in Punjabi and then they translate in Urdu and write in English, so what we write is not what we want to write. So we have one of the foremost objective which I have taken a task to do is to make the things simpler for the people, and that is one of the objective, and inshallah we will use, people will see that in another 2 or 3 months we will be releasing for materials for the people to make it very simple. Just for example, this time you can file your return. Anybody can file his return on Android or Apple web, and you have to just do 8 steps and your return will be filed. That app is now available, and anybody can file the return on app, and even the payment can be made on app. So it is fortunate for us that the technology, and it is also since the app is translatable into Urdu from English and English to Urdu, so that app is translatable into Urdu, and you can read in Urdu and you can file the return. So actually in filing the return there are only 8 steps to be done, and your returns can be filed. It is at the moment is only for the salaried people, and so it is a start of the thing, but we have a plan that in years to come, by obviously inshallah by the end of the next year, we will have almost all the returns to be filed automatically, and we are trying to use technology as far as possible. And let me say one very candid statement here is this, that we have an arm where we actually do our technological work, which we call PRAL, Pakistan Revenue Automation Limited, that we call PRAL. The last tangible investment in PRAL was made in 2008. Since 2008, we have not done any investment in PRAL. So whenever I know today is 29th of 29th of September, 30th is the last, tomorrow is the last day, and I know by the 8 of the evening, tomorrow night, there will be a choke in the in the machine, and there will be a problem. So this we are facing because we have not made regular investment in the in this thing. I am not supposed to talk much about economics here, but as a simple student of economics, I feel, and I always say that Pakistan in the last, we went for a deregulation process in since 1990, and the process has started. It was a necessary step, and it should have been done. But my feeling is that in that process we had done something which was slightly out of the bound, and it was not as required as is possible. So Pakistan has been I always say Pakistan has been prematurely deindustrialized. So we are creating the problem of employment, and now when we are in a correcting phase, so the people are facing the economic contraction. And as I was discussing with some of my colleagues here, that in the last 3 months which have gone by, July, August, September, the import has contracted by $3 billion as compared to last year. This is to accommodate our current account balance. So I would say we cannot say that things have improved, but a direction has been adopted. Some people have their views of the direction, but the direction has been adopted, and that direction, in my view, is to provide quickest form of reindustrialization of Pakistan, and as a result of that, there will be more jobs available for the people, because we are a country which are going to reach very closely a population of 250 million people, and I think our real exportable asset or exportable item is the quality human resource, and that we have to work on it, and unless and until we do that, we will not be able to achieve the target we want to achieve.
Thank you. I really am not actually. I think I need a more, direct answer from you on this. And you have partly sort of supported this view that even after 40 years, you find difficulty to understand the income tax ordinance, right? So why not make it simple? Why not have the entire, like for example, just to give you a feeling, in my group we have several thousand people, mostly blue collar workers. We ran a little bit because when the taxation started, and you will be surprised that 80% said, sir, we want to pay taxes. If you are in that bracket, we want to pay taxes, but we do not want to get into this prayer where we have to go to tax, run from pillar to post for this thing, etc. So, we sort of did an exercise where we found that, just the most successful thing that has happened, in fact, Dr. Ishit is sitting here, and I'm not going to embarrass him, was this service charges which provinces started doing. That has been collected very well. And if you look at it, the Punjab Revenue Authority and the Sindh Revenue Board, they've collected a lot of, without much hassle, they're a very small group, they've collected a lot of money. So similarly, if we say, and you have only 2 million taxpayers or so much, plus minus, whatever, 2.5. The point is that if you were to say on the same set that if a person were to give his taxes and he says he's getting, say, 10,000 rupees and he pays 1,000 rupees directly, like service charges, right? And he's not, and everybody is a taxpayer. We asked this question and all of them said taxpayer, because once they're stakeholders, they'll make sure that the other person will pay taxes. You won't have that much trouble with the business traders who turn around and say we will go on strike and things like that, because these people will not utilize those shops if they find that these chaps are not paying taxes. So the point is, why not have something like that, the same service pattern, make it simple so that people don't have to go on trust lawyers. You have people paying tax at source like this as service charges, which comes into the government, and then do not ask questions thereafter of the individual. then it is the responsibility of that particular entity, and the employer to do that. Why don't we do that, something like that?
I totally agree with you that this system of simpler taxation, closer to the kind of the fixed taxation and not asking irrelevant question and complicated form, that is the ultimate solution for certain kind of the tax people, and we are going for it. But as I said you earlier, that it is a very unfortunate part of our society at large. It is not only related to income tax. That in our country, the original FIR in a Pakistan Penal Code is written in Urdu, and the first magistrate decide in English. So there is a very big disconnect between what is the law and what is actually what is actually implemented. This is exactly what your observation is right. There is a very serious disconnect between the taxation recovery process and what is actually the objective and desire of collecting money. So there is a very serious disconnect, and we are working on that thing. And the biggest hurdle in that process is, I should not say it, but it's a fact, it is the mindset of the people who have been working in that department. I discussed with one of the very senior officer of the income tax department that what should be the right way of collecting taxes, and he said, no, with this 30% tax you will not be able to collect tax. The tax rate should be 80%, then I will have power to collect tax. You know, so the question is that there is a mindset that the tax, that you should act like an SHO, you should act like a different kind of personality to collect tax. That mindset was inherited. We call it collector of tax, the commissioner of tax. We don't consider as a friendly customer. You know, there is no customer relationship. He is your customer. He is actually one of your partner. That kind of relationship is not culturally there in the department. So it will take time, and we are actually working on it. And let me tell you another very interesting thing which people in Pakistan don't know. That Pakistan may be the only country in the world where the effective tax rate on the companies is higher than the effective tax rate of the individual and AOP. But we have made a law like this that we want to not to incorporate the companies. The net disposable income, if I make a company, the net disposable income in the hand of the owner is less than 50%. And if I do the same act by having a partnership or a sole proprietorship, I will have a higher disposable income. So this disparity which we have created is a very strange thing, and we have to correct it. In America, none of the country like this. And you must have seen in the last week, the India has cut down the corporate tax substantially. The India had got the same problem, but since now they have a space, so they have cut down the system on that thing. So let me very candid on the taxation system. We have got only 2.5 million tax filer. We have got only 400 companies or 400 entities paying almost 85 to 90% of whatever we are collecting. Only 400 companies. But we had a very large ambit of withholding taxes, on telephone and on electricity bill, on purchase of property and sale of property, and every kind of transaction you do. So and that is affecting the people in a very bad way. And the last thing is that money which we are, despite such a large legal ambit of taxation, we are not recovering, in my personal view, not more than 60% of what we could have received. So the 40% remains non-receivable, and that that is a very hard fact, uh, and we have to go through that.
Uh, you know, why don't we look at out-of-the-box solutions? You know, and what we have just said is very right, that actually to stimulate the economy, you have to lower the taxes. The lesser the taxes,
Yes.
the number of taxes, the more people will get this thing. So, we did the same experiment on our guard force, several thousand guard force, and we just tried to take a sort of a thing, how much they spend on the telephone, right? So, we found that the average guard, he was spending about 4,000 to 5,000, which is about almost 17 to 18% of his salary on mobile telephone and the, talking to people, etc., various things, etc. Now this is ether. So my point is, if you have to tax, you say, okay, fine. If there are 120 million telephones now, which is being used. If you were to take an average and say 3,000 rupees per month, which is lower end, I'm talking about, very conservative. So if you multiply 120 million by 3,000, and you say tax them for 3,000 each, so right? Of course, what is going to happen is the calls will come down, accepted. At least the person will work a little more and be less on the telephone, right? To start with. But the point is that you have 120 into 3,000. That's a huge amount. You take out the ether. Now, that would allow you, when you collect those revenues, that would allow you to cut the number of slabs of taxation out, which will stimulate the economy by giving that to the corporate sector, right? And I think now, if somebody is going to spend 18 to 19% of his salary just speaking on the telephone, 20 hours a day, and then you have these people, etc., yes, it will be. He may come down to 9 hours a day, or that thing. But the point is, you are really, what you are going is that you're taxing ether. You're not taxing anything else. Why don't you think of these out of the box?
Yes, and this proposal was actually almost the proposal which you have said was raised, and we are seriously considering to go on that way, and yes, we have to go for out of box solution for collecting taxes, and there is no doubt in our mind as far as the policy makers of taxation is concerned, that the collection becomes better and easier when the tax rates are lower, and the mechanism of collecting taxes is clearer and is better, and there is no second thought on this. But we cannot isolate the ground reality as at 29th of September 2019 with what we have done since a very long time. We have not been able in Pakistan, unfortunately, we have not been able to tax the genuine business transaction in a real way. And in the country we had provided very easy parking lot for money in Pakistan and outside Pakistan of the untaxed money in Pakistan, untaxed money from Pakistan. So there has been a very serious erosion of the real tax base in the country, and let me tell you a fact, that if you take out the taxation of the major trading activities in Pakistan, you will find that the tax base is pathetically low. It's pathetically low. If you look at the tax base of Anarkali Bazaar or Liberty Market or Sadar in Karachi or Raja Bazaar in Islamabad, Raja Bazaar in Pindi in Islamabad, you will find that a lot of them are not in the system of taxation, and even if they are in the system of taxation, they pay a very nominal sum of taxation, and they have got a very strong what we say nuisance value when they come to tax on them. In order to to avoid that nuisance of taxing the right people. The past governments have taxed the I would say wrong people in a wrong manner. So now we have ended in September 2019. We are ending up in a very strange situation where the base is very low, where the number of taxpayers is very low, where the system is complicated, and we have to move from here. That is the ground reality, and we have to change the whole paradigm of taxation if we want to survive as a sustainable economy in future.
Shabbar sir, just expanding on what you said and this thing. If you let us take and we broaden the tax base to include almost everybody who has got a mobile telephone, right? And when the person say he spends 3,000 or 5,000 on his tax, now when the tax is paid, we count that as his income tax. So the person becomes an income tax payer at source, right? So you say take a gentleman say take you and me. Yeah? So maybe my bill is say 20,000, right? And I make the company pays 20,000. So the 40,000 is the total bill. 20,000 goes away taxes. That is reflected on my taxes. So I become an income taxpayer, and that will cut across 120 million. There are 120 million telephones out at the moment, right? Maybe 100 million users. At the moment, you're having schemes like Asan mobile accounts, mobile wallets, things like that. More and more people are going to be into the system with this, because once you bring the unbanked into the banking circle, you have a system, an electronic, like you have said, that technology is going to be a part. So why don't we really think of the box and we say this, that if you have a larger base of taxpayers, then you will not have this blackmail by this thing, which by one of your predecessors, he died of a broken heart, Moinuddin Khan. He came back, he came from Standard Chartered, leaving a multi-million-dollar post to work as chairman of there, and just because he caught people in Liberty Market, right, they stood up and he had to resign and leave.
Yes. So, what you are saying, we are working on this, and if you remember and you know that in the last 2-3 months ago, we released 2 portals. One was released by Nadra, and other was released by us in FBR. One was called Sahulat account, one was called Malumat account. And if you go to the Sahulat account, you will find all the mobile telephones receiver, and there are more than 5 crore people, something like that, who are the filer of the payer of this thing. Sir, we have to. Your proposal is right. We have to go in that manner. But we have one, I would say, caveat, or I would say one condition, that we can't tax on presumptive basis anymore. Basically, we have to go back to the real income, which is a unfortunate system we have to borrow. And it is correct in one sense, it is incorrect in other sense, but your proposal is very right. We have to reduce the taxes on particular companies, and we have to increase the tax base. That is one of the objective of the government. Otherwise, the things will not move in the manner it should have moved. The other sector, let me give you one very basic, and I related what I said about the industrialization about the country. Pakistan's economy of 100, in my view, is divided into 4 parts. 25%, almost 25% is contributed by manufacturing industries. 25%, around 20-25% is contributed by the agriculture. 25% economy is contributed by wholesale retail trade, and 25% is contributed by services. This is how the circle is completed. Almost percentage may vary, but by and large these are 4 are the more component. And if I take you back of the tax collection, 70% of that is indirectly or directly borne by manufacturing. Agriculture does not contribute anything, technically. Retail and wholesale trade does not contribute anything. Among the services, only the organized services like bank and insurance companies actually pay taxes. The remaining services, doctors, engineers, chartered accountants, lawyers, they are not, they don't pay in the manner they should have paid. So these three, unless agriculture contribute reasonably, unless the wholesale trade contribute reasonably, unless the services contribute reasonably, we continuously, directly, impliedly, cautiously, unconsciously put burden on the manufacturing, and that manufacturing actually become uncompetitive, and that is, in my view, is I would say the wrong tax administration which has led to wrong tax policy actually. We had failed in the past, we have failed in the administration of taxes on those three sides, and that have led to too much pressure on the manufacturing side. Let me say, give you one anecdote. Last time, day before yesterday, we had increased the taxation on aartis, on the market committees. The Aarti association came to me and they said, the president said that the kinu you buy from mandi, the rate in the mandi is at least 1/3 of what you receive in the market. So the 2/3 profit is not taxed anywhere. So actually what is happening, that the agriculture is suffering because he doesn't get the right price, and at the same time the consumers suffer because that is also the so there has been a long story of wrong administration of taxation which has led to wrong policy, and now reverting that back to that is a very difficult task. And what we had done in the past, as I was talking to one of my colleagues here, that out of the total taxes I receive almost 50% at the import stage. So when my import goes up, my collection goes up, and when import goes down, my collection goes down. So actually what I say, at the moment the current account positivity is against tax positivity actually. If I want more import to get more taxes and to have more import, but as a nation we want more export. On export I don't receive anything. So this is a dilemma. We have to cross it, and we have to pass through that dilemma.
Now talked about imports. Please correct me if because I may ask a very stupid question. But why do you have these many sections and subsections? That means that you've got a spare part and you've got a 200 this thing, etc. on it. Why don't you have just a flat tax? Flat tax, and say, okay, fine. You import in $100 worth of stuff, irrespective of what you import. This is the flat tax.
Sir, it's a very pertinent and a relevant question. We have got what we call HS code, and that is 9-digit code, and just you must have seen last week I have issued a circular number 9, CGO number 19 of 2019. In Pakistan, before we changed that thing, the lipstick of the ladies was valued in the custom on the basis of weight, whether it is Medora or whether L'Oreal. So there is a very strange kind of, as rightly said by you, there is a very strange kind of custom valuation mechanism which we inherited and continuing. I would say continuing. We have not yet changed it. We are continuing with this, and we have to make it, as rightly said to you, we have to make it as simple as possible. At the moment, it becomes, it is actually very complicated. And when I asked my officers that why is so complicated, he said, that is my work. And he said, why is complicated? He said, if that makes simple, then what I will do? So the whole concept is that at the moment, the valuations and the classifications and the things like that are actually very complicated. Rightly said, pistons are pistons of the Mercedes Benz and the pistons of Skoda cars are actually both are valued at the weight. So these are the things which we have to correct it. We have to improve it, and then we have to actually rectify it. But let me tell you a very unfortunate thing. That at the moment we have got restriction on the imports from India, except medicine. But we know that some ports in the Middle East are being used to circumvent that thing, and things are coming from India, and things are not as clear as possible. For example, another example is that at one time, now it has slightly gone down. At one time, the imports from China, export from China to us and import from China by us, the difference was $6 billion. The difference, which was actually under-invoicing and over-invoicing. Now we have cut it down to 3, and we will break it down to, we have to break it down to 0. So these are the issues which we have to handle it, and things are in the way we are, but let us hope for better.
Well, one of the things that does occur is that you have a whistleblower thing, that if somebody comes to you and says, I will give you information about somebody who's hiding his assets, I think, do you give 20% or something like that?
Yeah, no, at the moment it's
10%. So why not bring the entire country into it? Give 40%. What difference does it make to you? What difference? You'll still get 60%. And not only that, let me tell you, all these fake accounts that have arisen, tell them the people who come and say this fake account is made on my name, give him 40%. Give him 40%. At least you get 60% out of it.
You are exactly saying what the Prime Minister said to me, that it increase the whistleblower revelation and increase that, and we are considering to do it. But give me one example. Let me give you one example. In the Benami law, which we have just introduced in 2017, we have a very clear system of the whistleblower system, that the whistleblower of the Benami can get the money for it. But what I have found, this is a very right system, and we have to encourage it. But there are 2 or 3 handicap in that. One is that mostly the whistleblower thing comes from the dispute between the people. Basically, generally the whistleblower is a person who used to be the ex-employee and now he becomes a whistleblower. This is exactly generally which happens, and there are disputes among the families which led to whistleblower. The second thing which whistleblower problem we have to sort it out, that at times the whistleblower, we give a reward to the whistleblower, but at the end of the case the things get decided in the favor of the person against whom the whistle was blown. So then the question, our money is already gone, and that money is then he runs the case. So whistleblower law in the revenue law is just a very good thing, and we are working on it. And yes, we have at the moment we have got a whistleblower provision in the Benami law. There is no whistleblower law in the income tax as such, but this government is bringing a separate whistleblower law, and that will be brought in very soon in another I think 1 or 2 months.
And increase the amount,
yes,
because it will give him incentive. Now I just want a personal this thing that my sister-in-laws were looking to buy a house in DHA in Karachi, and we split up into various groups, about 5 groups, and we went, and they probably saw over 50 houses in a space of 3 months. In none of the houses that they saw, there was less than 3 families living, Sindhi families living in each house. Each bedroom was occupied by different Sindhi families. very clearly, these houses were not owned by them. These houses were somebody else's property, right? Benami, right? Now, you see, I think you need to go and make it clear to these people who, the authorities or barrier town, whatever, that you have to answer for this, right? Because they must be filers, there must be something. Because without being a filer, how can they own property of this extent?
Let me give you a very interesting thing. Under our section, under our income tax law, under our section 114, we have a law that every person who has got a house above 500 square yard, which is one canal, has to file a return, whether he earns income or not. This is a law. But this law was not implemented actually ever in Pakistan. The law stays in the books. Last year I started it, and you must have seen the paper. Now everybody who has got a 500 square yard house has to declare his income. He has to declare that he has to file a return of income, whether he has an income or not, and that is how the things are working on it. And we are working on it. But let me admit it that the authorities now things have improved a lot after this government has come into power. But the authorities, there has to be if we want to really have a good tax system in Pakistan, what we have to have a better national database of the assets and the economic transaction of Pakistan, not being created by the person who not what I am filing with, but the government should have a national database of transactions which is taking place in Pakistan and the assets of those Pakistan. And if you go to now in our portal, which we call IRS portal Malumat, we have got an IRS portal Malumat where we are feeding that information, that these are the houses, these are owned by these people, these are the mobile phones in by these people, and now we are building up that Malumat. We had first edition of Malumat, now we have a second edition of Malumat, and now we are linking it so the people will know before filing the return that these are the transaction of a person, and he has to do unless he files the return or gives the return, then he will be caught otherwise. In some of the countries, for example, in Chile, before they file the return, they give you a letter that these are the information we have got about you, and this is the basis on which you have to file your return. We are not on that level of sophistication, but we are developing our own national database of economic transactions, and that will ultimately lead to a better tax compliance and a better approach in taxation. But the ground reality is, when I deal with the traders, they deal with crores of rupees, and when I talk to them that they should file the return, they say hum padhna likhna aata nahi, hum to jail hai. So there is a hypocrisy in the society, that when you ask them to file the return, they say we are illiterate, and when they do the transactions are humongous.
So I want to talk about a very sensitive subject, and that is the Afghan transit trade.
Yes.
Now, I don't think there's any country in the world, except for Pakistan, that allows transit trade free of cost to any country. Every time any country uses the facilities of the country, whether it's ports, whether it's roads, railways, the infrastructure, etc., there is some sort of fees that is given, right? Now, I'm not talking about the containers that go for the United States military effort. I'm talking about the Afghan transit trade. And you and I know that 90% of the time Afghan transit trade, tea for example, the amount of tea that is imported into Afghanistan, even the Afghan population that doubled 4 times, they would not be able to consume that amount of tea. So they are all coming back to Pakistan. On the other hand, the most ungrateful people in the world are Afghans. You know, we have sustained 3 million refugees for them. Their best friends, the Indians, don't take 10,000 refugees as a token even. 3 million refugees are still on our soil. They tax us. They tax us at Turkham border, if we are going to Central Asia, they take tax from us in advance, right? They do not tax at the other border, Turkundi, but they will tax you at Turkham border, right? And they take the thing in advance, while we allow them to run riot, and you do not do anything about them.
Let me be very candid on this, that Afghan transit trade is the biggest tax problem in the taxation system of Pakistan. And I totally agree with Ikram Saab's view. And I also 110% agree that they are the most ungrateful nation. I am not about the politics as far as the trade is concerned. I have done a research on this Afghan transit trade independently also. There are almost 22 countries in the world which are landlocked. And the Pakistan-Afghan Transit Agreement of 1965, I believe, is 65, is one of the most favorable agreement anywhere in the world in favor of Afghanistan. Either once there are 2 or 3 mechanisms. The best mechanism is that you pay duty in Karachi and then get the duty rebate when it crosses Turkham. Yeah. They don't accept it. Then the second is that you place quantitative data, means that you say that you need, in Afghanistan there are 500 people, so they can only import 500 pair of shoes. So there is a quota system. Or there is a system that things you don't need, you don't import. So there are 3 kind of restrictions which can be placed on the import in Afghanistan, on these kind of transactions, which are there, like India, Nepal, they have a quantitative restrictions. Nepal can import things like that. But in Pakistan, we don't have any kind of restriction on the Afghan trade. We have allowed them all kind of trade facilities, and the Afghanistan trade is going on, like on the Turkham border, and the things are going, and this is one of the biggest problem. As you know, we Pakistani, the Afghanis don't use black tea. This just black tea. They use green tea, and the bulk of the green tea, black tea, is imported by Afghanis and sold in Karachi to the Pakistani people. So this is a very serious issue. And when Ashraf Ghani Saab came in to Pakistan last time, we had a discussion on this, and I totally agree that unless and until we settle with this Afghan transit trade issue, and unfortunately things have gone bad to worst. In the past, there used to be LCs for Afghan transit trade were being opened through Pakistani National Bank. There used to be Bank Afghanistan, some bank which were opening the LCs of Afghani trade. Now they are all open in Dubai and other countries, and so we don't have that control also. So we are actually very badly stuck with Afghan transit trade and the Afghanistan smuggling and the abuse of this Kandahar border and the other border, and also this transit trade is a serious issue for us, and as rightly said by you, that unless and until we settle that issue, we will not be able to resolve the basic fundamental issue of Pakistan smuggling and retreat of the things which, although we have got a tracking system, but that is not working in an ideal manner. The things are imported for Afghanistan and they are sold and available in Pakistan.
Again,
on a lighter side, when there was no light in Afghanistan, they were import of 1 lakh TV big screens.
And more on that, because look, we are on the FATF list and whatever, we are fighting it out, and I think we are got light at the end of the tunnel. But one of the reasons that we are in this serious situation is the money laundering that took place through Peshawar. All the Afghan banking took place through Peshawar.
Yes.
All the illegal activity took place Peshawar, and we could not control it. And with the result, I think at least now you should be clamping down on this activity, because that is where you're getting a bad name. Somebody else is using your system for their this thing benefit, and you are getting the bad name. And they are at the forefront of condemning you along with India for everything else in the under the sun.
And you must have seen that the Prime Minister has inaugurated the this Torkham border 24/7. One of the objective of this 24/7 is that the return of the goods used to be in the night. The return used to be in the night. So that is why we have to open it at the night time. So now we are having a 24/7 Torkham border maintenance, and through a World Bank assistance, we are having a very sophisticated scanning system in Afghanistan. What we can do, we are doing on our side, but as rightly said to you by you, that I have been told that in Afghanistan the cash smuggling, the rate of dollar in Peshawar and the Kabul, and the rate of dollar in Peshawar and Karachi is different because of the Afghan transit trade.
That's right. I've had you as a captive speaker for some time, and I think it's only fair that the audience, I'm sure, wants to ask you a few questions. So please, I will request you first of all, please confine yourself to a question. If you make a statement, I will cut you off as rude as I can be. And please identify yourself. Okay. The gentleman at the back first.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, please.
Kashif Mahmood. Sir, how much?
Please, no.
Sir, how much?
Identify yourself.
Chaudhry Kashif Mahmood.
From?
From a multinational company.
Oh, all right.
Especially you mentioned cell phones, lot of cell phones. Okay. Question is for Mr. Shabbar Zaidi, that how much GDP ratio in the FBR corruption within itself?
What I'm saying, if I understand correctly, what you are asking, that if there will be no correction, what should be the tax collection ratio? This is what you are saying.
Within the FBR system, how much money is going in the FBR corruption system with respect to GDP ratio?
Nobody can actually determine that thing. But at one time, Mr. Shaukat Tareen said one figure of 700 billion rupees, but nobody can actually determine exactly how much tax, if I understand correctly, how much tax is being less collected because of corruption. This is your question.
Yes.
I cannot estimate that thing in itself.
Next, please. Yes, please. Please, go ahead. उनको दें. Well, next.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर, उर्दू में बात कर सकता हूँ?
पढ़ दें, जरूर.
शब्बर साहब से क्वेश्चन
आपने आइडेंटिफाई भी कर दें साहब उर्दू में.
जी जी
बोले
सर, मेरा नाम हमजा है, मेरा ताल्लुक चीचावतनी डिस्ट्रिक्ट साहिवाल से है और किसान हूँ. फैमिली मेरी सारी जो है कोई ज़्यादा बड़े किसान नहीं है, बस कुछ मरबे ज़मीन है. सर, मैं ज़मीन बेचना चाहता हूँ. आप क्या ऐसा कर सकते हैं कि मैं अपनी ज़रई ज़मीन ना बेचूं? क्यों? क्योंकि ज़रई ज़मीन से मुझे वो इनकम नहीं आ रही जो यहाँ पे कैपिटलिस्ट बैठा मेट्रोपॉलिटन सिटी में पैसे कमा रहा है और गवर्नमेंट्स को चला रहा है. कोई ऐसा फार्मूला दें कि मैं वो मेरा दादा जो कहता था, मेरे दादे ने टिब्बे आबाद किए और बहुत लोगों को रोज़गार दिया. मेरे दादा ने एहतजाज किया गवर्नमेंट के ख़िलाफ़ और 80 गांव मेरे दादा की वजह से आज बिजली ले पा रहे हैं, क्योंकि मेरे दादा ने 50s में टरबाइन्स लगाई थी. ज़िला साहिवाल में 3 टरबाइन्स. आज वो टरबाइन्स लगाई थी आके नॉर्वे से और स्वीडन से इंजीनियर आए थे, गोरे आए थे. सर, मेरा कहने का, सारी बात करने का मकसद ये है कि सर क्या ऐसा हो कि हम ज़मीन ना बेचें, कुछ ऐसा करें.
देखिए, आपकी बात समझ गए.
कोई फसल का रेट नहीं हमें मिलता, कुछ नहीं मिलता.
समझ गया.
हाँ जी, बड़ी मेहरबानी.
देखिए, मैंने ये बात आरती के रेफरेंस से आपसे कही थी ना जी, कि इस वक्त जो हमारा प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है वही आ रहा है, चाहे वो ट्रेडिंग हो, चाहे वो एग्रीकल्चर इनकम हो. हमारे पास हमने 40 साल में इस मुल्क में मिडल मैन का माफिया क्रिएट कर दिया है। एक मिडल मैन माफिया है जिसकी वजह से आज महंगाई भी है, जिसकी वजह से आज टैक्स कलेक्शन भी नहीं है, जिसकी वजह से आज एग्रीकल्चरिस्ट भी सफ़र कर रहा है। जिस प्राइस पे आप अपनी कुछ तो प्रोड्यूस हैं जो कि गवर्नमेंट करती है, कॉटन है, शुगर है, वो तो खैर प्राइस फिक्स होती है, बट जो बाकी चीज़ें हैं जो आपकी एग्रीकल्चर सब्सिस्टेंस होती है और चीज़ों से, सब्जी से, आम से, जो आपका एक्चुअली जो आपके लिए कैश जनरेट करता है, उसमें आपका रिटर्न नेगेटिव में है और उस वजह से आप ज़मीनें बेच रहे हैं। ये आपका रीज़न है। तो मेरा ज़ाती व्यू ये है कि एग्रीकल्चर में अब प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी बहुत लो हो चुकी है एक्सेप्ट सर्थिंग, और जो मार्जिन है एग्रीकल्चर का वो मिडल मैन माफिया के हाथ में चला गया है जो किसी के कंट्रोल में नहीं है। जो बात मैं अभी आपसे थोड़ी देर पहले आड़ती के माफिया के बात के रेफरेंस से कर रहा था, ये एम आई राइट ऑन दैट? मैं वही आपके उधार है, मैं वही मैंने आज यही बात की ना, मैं यही कह रहा हूँ ना कि ये एक माफिया है। अच्छा, ये माफिया सिर्फ आड़ती में नहीं है, ये माफिया ट्रेडिंग में भी है। वो टेक्सटाइल में भी, टेक्सटाइल वाले को पहले कपड़ा बाय कर लेता है, दुकान बाद में बिकती है। सो ये एक पूरा पाकिस्तान में एक ट्रेडर्स माफिया के तहत ये मुल्क चलता रहा है पास्ट में। अब इसको ट्रेडर माफिया से हम ट्रेडर माफिया कह लें, आड़ती माफिया कह लें, कोई माफिया कह लें, कोई नाम भी इसको दे दें, ये किसी भी टैक्स सिस्टम में नहीं है। आज जो आम, केला, सब्जी, दाल, मिर्च आप ले रहे हैं वो आपकी एग्रीकल्चर प्राइस से कम से कम 2 गुना है, 3 गुना है बाजार में, और वो दरमियान का जो गैप है वो कहीं टैक्सेबल नहीं है, जिससे दोनों सेक्टर नॉन वायबल हो गए हैं। वी वर डिस्कसिंग इन द लास्ट किसी मीटिंग में कि इसका एक ही तरीका है कि इस मिडल मैन को निकाल दिया जाए दरमियान से। उसके 2-3 तरीके हैं। उसमें एक तरीका तो ये है कि टेक्नोलॉजी को थोड़ा सा एडवांटेज हो, उसमें कॉर्पोरेटाइजेशन हो, इंडिया में हुई है। रिलायंस ग्रुप जो है वो एग्रीकल्चर मार्केटिंग में चला गया है। एग्रो मार्केटिंग में जब गया तो उसने दूध की प्राइस को बेहतर किया। तो इसके बहुत सारे तरीके हैं, बट ये जेन्युइन प्रॉब्लम है जो आपने रेज किया। ये पाकिस्तान का प्रॉब्लम भी है, जो आपका प्रॉब्लम भी है, मेरा प्रॉब्लम भी है। दोनों में आप और मैं एक ही आदमी से लड़ रहे हैं। आप भी उस माफिया से लड़ रहे हैं जो टैक्स नहीं देता, और बाजार में चीज़ महंगी है, और एग्रीकल्चर को भी नहीं मिल रही, आपको भी नहीं मिल रही, मुझे भी कुछ नहीं मिल रहा, और वो क्लास मजीद अमीर होती जा रही है। वो एक्चुअली इन्वेस्टर है, अब वो इन्वेस्टर बन गए, और उसी के अंदर करप्शन मनी भी चली जाती है। तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा सब्जेक्ट है, हमने डिस्कस इट, बट यू हैव राइटली आइडेंटिफाइड द राइट क्वेश्चन। थैंक यू।
That lady there, yeah, yes, please. Yes, yeah. You get her the microphone there.
Sir, can I ask the question in the meantime?
Please, इनको दे दीजिए, लेडी है वो, आप खड़े हो जाए ना जी, तो फिर आप माइक्रोफोन भी दे दें।
जी, एक्चुअली द क्वेश्चन द जेंटलमैन जस्ट आस्क्ड, उससे मुझे ख्याल आया है कि
Can you identify yourself, please?
My name is Zenia Sadiq Sattiji. I represent Pakistan's people-led disaster management. It works on disaster risk reduction and poverty alleviation. तो PTI गवर्नमेंट ने आते के साथ एग्रीकल्चरल इमरजेंसी इन्फोर्स करने का ऐलान किया था। उसके बाद हमारे जैसे लोग जो काम करते हैं इस शोबे में, वो इंतज़ार करते रहे कि अब नए लैंड यूज़ स्टेटिस्टिक्स जनरेट होंगे, कलेक्ट किए जाएंगे, और FPR उनको बेसिस बनाएगी अपनी टैक्सेशन पॉलिसी का एग्रीकल्चरल लैंड के ऊपर जो बनती है। मगर काफ़ी अरसा गुजर गया, 1 साल से ज़्यादा, तो मुझे जहाँ तक इल्म है अभी तक ऐसा कुछ नहीं हुआ। क्या ऐसा होगा? इज़ देयर एनी पुश फ्रॉम योर साइड फॉर दिस? थैंक यू।
जो एग्रीकल्चर की टैक्सेबिलिटी के मैकेनिज्म का जो बनाने का राइट है वो मेरे पास नहीं है, वो एग्रीकल्चर डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ द प्रोविंसेस के पास है, और उस पर काम अभी तक उस लेवल पे नहीं हुआ जिस लेवल पे आप उम्मीद करिए, मगर ये हमारे एजेंडे में है मौजूद कि हम इसको करने जाएंगे। अभी नहीं हुआ, मैं आपकी बात एडमिट कर रहा हूँ।
सर मेरा नाम
One question
अकील
there at the
है,
back.
मैं
The gentleman is standing for some time.
प्राइवेट जॉब करता हूँ सर। मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था, जैसे आपने खुद एडमिट किया कि मोर देन 50% कलेक्शन जो है वो कस्टम की होती है इम्पोर्ट स्टेज पे, जिसमें इतना FPR कुछ करना नहीं पड़ता सर इनलैंड रेवेन्यू का जो परफॉर्मेंस है मेरे ख्याल से वो बिलो एवरेज है, मतलब जितना होना चाहिए एट पार नहीं है कस्टम के। और उसमें सर ये पूछना था, इनकम टैक्स में जो रेवेन्यू डिपार्टमेंट है, जिससे लिंक क्वेश्चन है क्या है, जैसे आपका सर्विस सेक्टर आप कह रहे हैं, आप देखें सर डॉक्टर्स हैं हमारे, वो जो सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड जो पीपल हैं सर, डॉक्टर्स सीरियस मनी कमा रहे हैं सर, 5-5 हज़ार से ऊपर फीस है सर उनकी। और आप इस तरह लॉयर्स के ले लें सर, तो उसके लिए सर आप एक तो ये इंटेलिजेंस बेस पे आप क्या कर रहे हैं कि उनकी वो कितनी इनकम कमा रहे हैं सर, और क्योंकि पता है कुछ बिजनेसेस ऐसे हैं जो कि घरों में भी लोग चला रहे हैं, तो उस सर्विसेज सेक्टर को आप सर टैप करने के लिए क्या करें?
देखिए सर्विस सेक्टर का दो चीज़ें, सर्विस सेक्टर ऑर्गेनाइज्ड भी है, अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड भी है। सर्विस सेक्टर को टेस्ट करना आसान नहीं होता क्योंकि वो जनरली इतना डॉक्यूमेंटेड नहीं होता। स्कूल है, डॉक्टर्स हैं, प्राइवेट स्कूल्स हैं, डॉक्टर्स हैं, इस पे हम दो तीन तरीके से काम कर रहे हैं। हमने पास्ट में कभी इस सेक्टर को हमने कभी एम्फसाइज नहीं किया था, मगर उनकी जो कंजम्पशन है, उनके जो भी डॉक्टर होगा उसके पास घर तो ज़रूर होगा ना जी, उसके बाद 1000 सीसी की गाड़ी भी होगी, तो रिटर्न फाइल करेगा तो बताएगा कि मैं डॉक्टर हूँ, रिटर्न आएगा तो उसमें से हम कुछ ना कुछ ज़रूर निकाल सकेंगे। तो हम एक अवेयरनेस कैंपेन की तरफ ज़्यादा जा रहे हैं। अभी हम एग्जैक्टली अगर आप कहें कि हम डॉक्टर्स को किस तरह टेस्ट करेंगे तो उसका आंसर मेरे पास नहीं है जी।
मैं आपको एक सजेशन देता हूँ, उसका जो कंपाउंडर है ना उसको 40% दे दें।
सर ये जो आप कह रहे हैं सपोज
कितने मिलते हैं
सर, एक डॉक्टर है सपोज शाम में सर
एक्सक्यूज मी
सर कंटिन्यूएशन में
सॉरी
देखिए मुझे एक वो जब भी मैं जाता हूँ मेरे मुझे खातून मिलती हैं, वो कहती हैं आप ब्यूटी पार्लर्स को टेस्ट करें, ये बहुत पैसे लेती हैं।
सर आप वॉलंटियरली पे कर रहे हैं ना सर, एफबीआर का तो कोई काम नहीं।
साहब थैंक यू वेरी मच, थैंक यू, एंड आई थिंक दिस बीन अ वेरी वेरी यूजफुल एंड ओपन डिस्कशन, and I'm very grateful to you, and I also must acknowledge the presence of Dr. Ishrat Hussain here. You know, I consider him one of the icons of the modern economy of Pakistan, and thank you for being here, sir. Thank you very much.